Gilles de Rais was a knight and lord from Brittany who, as a leader of the French army, served as companion in arms to Joan of Arc during the 100 Years' War against the English. Unfortunately, history will remember him as a self-confessed serial killer of children. Born late in 1405, Gilles would become an orphan by the age of 10 when both his mother and father died in 1415. He was raised by his maternal grandfather, John de Caron, who, as a schemer in marriage, was looking for a bride for Gilles from the age of 12. Eventually, after many unsuccessful plans, Guy married Catherine de Foix from Brittany in November 1420 at the age of 15. By 1425, at the age of 20, Gilles was introduced to the court of Charles VII and was studying courtly manners from the Dauphin himself. His introduction to the court led him to being a commander in the Royal Army in the 100 Years' War against the English from 1427 to 1435. During the war in 1429, he fought alongside Joan of Arc in many campaigns against the English and their Burgundian allies, and he was present with Joan when the siege of Orleans was lifted. Following the lifting of the siege, he was present at Notre Dame de Reims for the consecration of Charles VII as King of France, and on that very same day he was officially created the Marshal of France. He was also allowed to use the fleur-de-lis, the royal coat of arms, on his own coat of arms from this day forward. In May 1431, Joan of Arc was burned at the stake in Rouen. Gilles was not present at her execution. The following year, Gilles' grandfather died on the 15th of November 1432, and in a gesture to his displeasure on Gilles' reckless spending, he left his breastplate to Gilles' younger brother, René de la Suze. Between 1434 to 1435, Gilles withdrew from the military and public life in order to pursue his own interests. He almost bankrupted himself with the production of a theatrical spectacle called Le Mystère de Siege d'Orléans. Such was his public spending, the public appealed to Pope Eugene IV to try and disavow the Chapel of Holy Innocents which Gilles had built. A royal edict which prevented Gilles from selling any more property to cover his losses forced him back to Brittany, where the edict was not in force. It was during this time, probably between 1432 to 1433, where Gilles committed his first murders of children. Unfortunately, there are no records still in existence to verify these claims. De Rais' crimes would be uncovered on the 15th of May 1440, when he kidnapped a cleric during a dispute at a church called Saint Etienne de Mer-Morte. The act prompted an investigation by the Bishop of Nantes, during which Gilles' crimes were uncovered. On the 29th of July 1440, the Bishop of Nantes released his findings and subsequently obtained cooperation from Rais' former protector, John VI, Duke of Brittany. The investigation led to both Rais and his body servants, Poitou and Henriette, to be arrested on the 15th of September 1440, following a secular investigation which was paralleled by the findings of the Bishop of Nantes. The crimes would include charges of murder, sodomy, and hearsay. Extensive witness testimonies were taken, particularly from parents of many of the missing children, who said the children would enter the castle begging for food and never to be seen again. The court had planned to torture Rais into confessing to his crimes, but he admitted to them on the 21st of October before the plan could be carried out. It is not known exactly how many boys were murdered at Giles's hand, but generally the number is placed between 80 to 200, although many people have conjectured it could be upwards of even 600. The victims came from both sexes, but were predominantly boys, aging from the ages of 6 to 18. On the 23rd of October 1440, both of Giles's body servants were condemned to death, followed by Giles himself on the next day, 25th of October 1440. Giles's last request before his execution was to be buried in the church of the monastery of Notre Dame de Calmes in Nantes, which was granted. His execution was to be by hanging and burning, which was set for Wednesday the 26th of October 1440 at 9 o'clock in the morning. At 11 o'clock, the brush at the platform was set afire and Rais was hanged. His body was then cut down before being consumed by the fire and the flames. Later, he was claimed by 4 ladies of high rank for burial at the Notre Dame de Calmes in Nantes as he requested.